am starting my Croatian language journey. And I'm coming to you because I think I have a little different perspective than most people. I'm not a professional YouTuber, so I'm not going to really go into a whole long spiel and then give you the answer at the end. I'm not a professional linguist, teacher, or learner. I'm a regular person that is attempting to learn Croatian using Pimsleur courses. And that's what we're going to cover today. Now, I have some language experience, but not a lot. I took 3 years of Japanese in high school, and I can maybe still recite you 7 to 10 words. So, did not stick. You know, it was classic high school, required to learn a language. You skated through it unless you were, like, serious about it. And I was serious. It's not like I just, didn't care. But I knew I probably was never going to live in Japan. So the instant I graduated high school, I did not continue my education. And if you don't lose it, you lose it, right? Or if you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, that's the phrase. And that's where we're at. And then during COVID, like everybody, I picked up Duolingo. And I have a dog who's at my feet. So if you hear noises, she's trying to help out in the video. But she's Swedish. And so I was going to learn some Swedish just to maybe do basic, sit, down, stay, etc. I can tell you, after about 1.5 years of Duolingo, like everybody else usually uses it on the toilet or when you're bored on the bus, and it says, speak this out loud, and you're like, no, I'm on a bus, I'm not doing that. I can name boy and girl. So that's basically my language learning experience, which is basically to say, none. I know basically 12 words in other languages other than English. So Croatian is something I took up about 2 years ago, but the same way I was using the Mondly app. I was using YouTube videos like Learn Croatian and here's some common Croatian phrases, etc. And they were helpful. Mondly was helpful. I tried to do the whole YouTube thing where you switch it to the language and try to learn it, but there's just not a lot of Croatian content on Netflix. So I was kind of in a rock and a hard place where I knew the basics. Hello, goodbye, thank you, please. But like I didn't really know Croatian. I know at that point, I've never tried to learn French or Spanish, and I know most of those words just via context through society. So I was basically at what most people's common, at least in America's common Spanish is, without taking a Spanish course. So I by no means would say I was anywhere close to a journey of actually learning and understanding and being able to speak Croatian at any kind of fluent level. So I decided this year I was going to do the Pimsleur courses. And for those of you that don't know, Pimsleur is basically a audio-only version of lessons. It's pretty, from my research, again, I've never really tried to learn another language, is pretty well known across language learning people. I can't believe there's people that learn like 8 languages, but it's kind of a similar course where it's all audio repeat. They have voice actors, and for full disclosure, I did try it about 7 months ago. And I got through basically, I think they're called chapters. And in each chapter, there's 5 lessons. I got through like basically the first 3-4 lessons. And I was having problems. I didn't understand it. I got frustrated. And I kind of just let it drop. Well, New Year's came. I'm going to Croatia this year. And I'm like, I need to pick this up. I was serious about it. I want to do it. Part of the reason I'm doing this is hopefully to keep myself accountable. And hopefully help somebody else that's maybe trying to learn Croatian, or I guess you could use Pimsleur for, I think they do a lot of languages. So maybe there's a different language out there that people are trying to learn. But that's what I was going at. So Pimsleur is basically 5 lessons, and they're about 30 minutes. Now, here's what I recommend. Spoiler alert, because I said I'm not a YouTuber. I'm going to make you wait till the very end, but I'm just thinking you'll want to stay because of what's going to be covered. It's working. I'm very pleasantly surprised by how good it is. I'm 10 lessons in, so 2 weeks in. And I plan on doing another recap on this 2 weeks later after I'm through lesson 20. How I've been doing it. Well, I'll say how Pimsleur wants you to do it. They want you to do 1 lesson a day and make sure every day you do a lesson. I tweaked that format a little bit. So I found out, if you're just new to this and you haven't started, you haven't invested any money in it, here's what I might recommend. I found out after the fact that Pimsleur has their own app and website that you can use to learn the language. And that has a little bit more of the written component and the visual component, where you can see a word and you got to pair it. And from my understanding, Again, I'm not paying for it, and I'll get into that in a second. We're getting a little bit more of the visual and the testing skills that you don't get by just the lessons that are 100% audio. Hear it, learn it, say it back. So I can't really read Croatian right now. Now I kind of can by how I've been doing the speaking, but by no means can I like look at a word and know what it is without sounding it out and going, oh, I know that word. So that's what I would say in terms of the Pimsleur courses is if you do want to do it, use their service, their app, and everything like that. Now, why I'm not doing that is I didn't know it existed, and I saw it on Audible, which is a service I already use. And so I bought all of their books during the holidays. I had a couple credits saved up because I just used Audible already. And then they were doing like 2-for-1 sales or buy 3, get 1 less, or, get 1 book free. So I basically bought the audiobooks of the Pimsleur course. So I own them all already. So after investing a bunch of Audible credits, I'm not going to also spend what it seems like a lot, actually, for the Pimsleur thing. So if you really want to be focused on the being able to recall words and stuff, maybe it's worth the investment. But I'll say if you're already using Audible, maybe just use it. All right, so here's how I'm doing it. I'm doing the 1 lesson a day, 6 days a week, not every day, because I'm not trying to become fluent and become a professor. I'm doing this as kind of a hobby and just self-improvement, right? I recommend you listen to the lesson on 70% speed. It will help, in my opinion, it helps with enunciation, pronunciation, and sentence structure. So if you listen on a full 100%, especially starting, some of the sentences will sound like one word, which makes sense when you think about how fast I'm talking in English right now. If you didn't understand English right now, some of these words might sound like they're one word. And that's what I was learning the first time I tried this out, and I was just kind of struggling at putting together sentence structure. So I've slowed it down. It helps you learn how to pronunciate it, also how to enunciate it, and then you start to understand that, like, when you're saying certain things, it's not one word. It's like, where is, not where is the street. It's, you're saying, where is street, etc. And you start to understand that a little bit better. So that's what I'd recommend. 70% speed. Now, I personally do mine while I'm driving, so that's the benefit of it all being audio, is you can just do it while you're doing something else. Just make sure it's something where you're at least focused. I've heard some people do it at the gym and stuff, and I feel like when you're lifting, and I don't know. Whatever works for you, I use it while driving, and it's been working for me. So, 70% speed, less, through that lesson or chapter for all 5 lessons. Then what I started doing is on the weekend, so I'm doing that Monday through Friday, I listen to it on 1.1 speed all the way back to lesson 1. So instead of moving to lesson 6 on my 6th day, I went back and listened at 1.1 speed, lessons 1 through 5 in one day, which took about 2.5 hours. But again, if you're serious about it, and it's a weekend, so you can do it while you're having your coffee in the morning, or while you're answering emails, Sunday night, or whatever your weekend routine looks like. Again, it's passive. You don't have to be solely focused on it. There's no textbook. So it's, you can kind of do it. You can even pause it halfway through and pick it back up. I guess I haven't done that yet, but that's what I've been doing, is doing on the weekends. One time I do a repeat of the 5 lessons I just learned. And what you'll learn is how much you're actually picking it up. Because lessons 1 through 3 fly by. I was like, holy cow, I could move to Croatia right now, and I could survive. Then you get to lessons 4 and 5, which are your most recent lessons, and you're like, holy crap, no, I can't. I'm still struggling with parts of these. And then you kind of have this self-doubt, and this is where I'm going to go into kind of their structure. Shoot, maybe I should redo lessons 4 and 5, because I just kind of struggled with them. And Pimsleur's whole deal is, I think it's supposed to like 80 or 70% of the lesson. If you're getting it right, move on. In my head, I was like, I just don't feel like I'm there. And I would redo lessons. This was when I tried it the first time, and it's half the reason I quit. This time I said, no, just stick to the course. Do it how they tell you to do it. Do it how they tell you to do it. Even if you think, unless you're like really struggling, you're getting like below 50%, I would say move on. Because you'll learn sometimes they introduce something to you without explaining it. If that makes no sense, which is exactly what they do to you. For instance, when they were teaching me I want, they conveniently left out that it's different for a female than a male. So when they're asking me to recall things, if I didn't realize which voice actor I was supposed to be impersonating or responding to, I would say Steelby, right? And that's from the male side. From the women's side, it's Stellyby. And I wasn't picking that up. So I was getting so frustrated with like, oh my God, they're asking me to say I would like something to eat. And I keep saying it wrong. And then like a lesson later, they cover, so the female way is this. And the male way is that. And I don't know why they didn't introduce it in the previous lesson, but they didn't. And I will say, it kind of, when they say that, for as mad as I was, it clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Guess what I don't mess up anymore? That. I think because I became so frustrated with it, that when they gave me the answer I was looking for, it was like, oh my goodness, and I don't struggle with Stellyby or Steelby anymore. So, I would say, even if you get frustrated, move on to that next lesson, because they do a lot of clarifying later. A lot of that will come, like I said, now we're in section 6 through 10, or lesson 6 through 10, when you get to the numbers and clock. So, they don't really tell you at first, like, the difference between sat, sati, and sata. And they're just, like, throwing out numbers, and they're like, oh, ooh, awesome sata. And you're like, what? I don't understand. I said that, and now it's wrong, because then you said, ooh, yedin sat. Where's the sata, or sati, or tree sati? And you're just like, I'm confused. And to be fair, I'm not sure if those are right, because those are like the tail end of the lessons I just did. I'm confident, actually, that I said them out loud, I mixed up sata and sati. I won't explain that to you, because you can take the lesson yourself, but that's the whole point, is even though I might be getting things wrong, in my head, I'm able to go, no, wait, hold on, and I'm understanding what I might have right or might have wrong, which is why I think Pimsleur courses are actually working. So, like I said, I think you can do it. I'm through 10 lessons. I plan on coming, probably doing it 2 weeks later. I don't know if it's really worth doing in 1 week. We'll see if there's a video in a week. But I think for anyone that's just curious about learning Croatian, or really any language with Pimsleur, I'd say stick to it. I swear by my little format here of 70% each day through the week, or whatever you plan on doing it, and then do a recap over the weekend or on a day where you have more time at a little bit faster speed. And don't be worried. Like, don't worry about pausing and answering in the prompt blank spot. If you have to basically lip sync it and say it over the voice actor, I've heard that actually sometimes helps me with pronunciation. Like if they're saying like good yeah, and I was saying good yeah, and you're like, oh, I need to fix that, and I heard it because of how they're saying it while I was saying it over top of them. So I feel like that's also useful. But that's the way I've been doing it. 70% speed lessons, the 5 regular lessons, and then a big recap at kind of faster speed. And, all in, you're talking about 5 hours a week. Maybe 6, depending on if you really struggle on a lesson. So, but it's working. And so I would say if you're serious, absolutely go for it. I hope these tips have helped somebody else out. If you do start Croatian, or have started Croatian, I'd love to be able to practice in the comment sections or whatever with other people, or hear what you're doing that maybe you think I should be trying. So feel free to do that. Like I said, it's all audio, so it might help me with the reading part of it as well. So I would appreciate it if anybody does do that. But anyways, nobody might see this video. Great English. But if somebody does and they're really frustrated but they wanted to learn, I hope it helped you. And I hope you see the next video in a couple weeks and go, holy crap, he's gone a long way. I think in that one I'll maybe speak more Croatian than I did in this one, because this one was more explaining that you can do it. Just get started. It's working for me. So with that, I'll say hvala, do viđenja,